Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Batman Day. Happy Saturday. Happy September 20th, 2025. Welcome to the Saturday overnight show. Um, it looks like a great many of you are going to be watching this later because I have yet to get my notification from not Netflix, YouTube, and I'm live. So I don't think everybody's getting it at the same time. But hey, for those of you who are in the Southern Nevada area and you still got you got as long as I'm doing this show tonight to swing by and get your free Detective Comics number 27 poster, commemorating the very first appearance of the Dark Knight himself, back when he was called The Batman, which would later be the title of the last Batman movie. It's a nice little shiny glossy poster. Gave these away last year too. Gave away the Action Comics #1 run for Superman Day, and then for each one, like Green Lantern. If there's ever a Green Lantern Day, if there is one, I got showcase for that one. So yeah, we're going to go at length discussing Batman. I mean, that's a topic I don't need a script for. I have some stuff set aside here for those of you who have shied away from Batman or have not been involved in some of the storytelling that's gone on ever. Some of you may only know it by the cartoon and have never picked up a comic book, which is tragic, but we'll try to change that tonight. As you can see on the thumbnail, we will be discussing, a large range of Batman. Some of the stuff I like, some of the stuff I don't like, but to be fair to the audience, we're going to discuss, whatever Batman thing attracted you to Batman. Some of you, it's going to be the cartoon. Some of you, it's going to be the Adam West TV show, which is basically a cartoon. Some of you, it's going to be the Papers and Staples. It's going to be the comic books where these Batman originated. Some of you, it's going to be the movies, exclusively the movies for you. I know people who started, discovering what Batman was in 2004, 2005, and since then have not picked up a comic book. So what I try to do when it comes to I sell comic books is if I find you or if you find me, I try to just bridge the gap. I mean, you don't have to give up the thing that the path that led you into Batman, but hey, pick up a comic book every now and then. Paper and Staples, preferably, but if it's digital, it's digital. I'd rather have you reading the stories and not reading them at all. And comics are expensive; it's tough. Whoa, okay, we are having major StreamYard problems. Yes, let me make sure I'm not delayed. Yeah, I've been having StreamYard problems since. Oh, thank you. Yeah, you have that sneeze. Yeah, right as I was coming in. Allergies getting me again. Let's see. So today, there's just basically three main topics. They're all in the thumbnail. I know the Batman one looks much larger than it is because I included a lot of Batman. I don't know how you guys came into Batman, so I would figure I want to cover them all, or as many as possible. I even have Lego Batman in there, which I have no, you know, some people that's the Batman that they first saw. It's weird because coming up old school, the very first Batman I saw was Adam West, but I spent the rest of my adult life kind of like moving myself away from that and getting into comics, and the 80s really changed it all for me. The other topic we're going to discuss is going to be real quick, or two topics basically. After this, it's going to be Batman. It's going to be AEW All In, and then it's going to be obviously we've been talking Netflix, Paramount, Warner Brothers. I still have the same questions that I've had all this week. I don't believe in the Netflix bid. I don't believe in the Comcast bid. The only bid that I think is viable is going to be the Paramount bid. I heard. All week long since Netflix's name has been thrown in the hat, people have lost their minds. Oh, this is going to be the end of cinema. This is going to be the end. Could be. Then I have, the two ends of the Snyder fandom. Both of them are making me sick these days. I have the anti-Snyder people who I wish would find something better to do with their lives. And then I have the Snyder people who, every time something happens with Warner Brothers, we go to that same well. Both of you need muscles. But I don't think this sale means anything. The bids, sale, whatever happens, doesn't mean anything for that. I don't think anything's gonna happen with Zack Snyder's story arc, regardless to who is the bidder, the highest bidder, or who it ultimately gets sold to. I think actually either one of those, whether it be Skydance Paramount or whether it be Netflix, I think that pretty much would end it. Because now you're talking about like a third or fourth company owning this since all this began, and each of them it's further in your rearview mirror, and each of these guys is going to come in with their own agenda. The best chance anybody would ever have for any of that would be James Gunn. James Gunn's story originates from what the DCEU was. Even though he selectively pushed things forward, he has not really destroyed any of that stuff. So if there was ever a remote possibility of that story being concluded, then it would be through him, not through Paramount and not through Netflix. But like I said, I've heard that cage rattling for the last couple of days now, and it's been kind of annoying. It makes me want to mute certain keywords, but we'll talk about that hopefully when Brad gets here. Let's see who I got on the docket. Just want to make sure I'm not geek. Sometimes people want to come on the show and add some stuff to the show, and I don't want to miss those messages. All right. So, by the way, this afternoon we finished My Suffering. Actually, it wasn't that bad. We were watching, me and Aaron, who the movie was purchased for, were watching wrestling and Wicked. Wicked's not that bad a movie. It's not something I would have paid to go see, but it's not something like Mystery Men or Ace Ventura or something that repulses the food from my digestive system bad. It was just, I'm not into musicals. I kind of outgrown the whole Wizard of Oz thing, and I don't think it was aimed towards me. But it was all right. Watch, like I said, while I was watching AEW's All Out, which is one of the very first things that we're going to discuss after I say hello to the chat. All right. So, Hal Jordan, yes. Happy Batman Day. Please like and subscribe. I didn't dislike it. I just thought it was a Raw. And now it's an overpriced Raw. I thought the Cena match, we're not even going to go over WrestlePalooza, even though I watched it. The Cena thing was stupid. They had the two faces on WrestlePalooza were John Cena and Brock Lesnar. Those are the two faces on the flyer that they sold it to, or they sold it with. It's a squash match. Another Cena, and Brock Lesnar squash match. I didn't need another one of those. I don't need another Brock Lesnar squash match for the rest of my life. He's had plenty of them, and they don't really do anything to help him or any storyline. We're at the end of John Cena's career, and that was stupid. the rest of the stuff was all right. I mean, Stephanie Fakir winning the world title. They kind of set that up. They didn't make any secrets about that. The Drew McIntyre thing, that was a match that that's a Raw match. All this was Raw stuff, to be honest with you. So yeah, I didn't dislike it, but it wasn't, like I said. Luckily I'm already in the bundle and anything, so I didn't blow too much money on it. Thank you, Sean. Hello, Music Man. What's going on? All right, we'll get into this too. Yours was a combination of cartoons, movies, and Batman. See, cartoons for me, I watched Super Beds. After that, I was done with any cartoon version of Batman. After I got introduced into, once 1985 and 1986 came along, there was no room in my brain for any cartoon Batman. Once I laid my eyeballs on one of the stories we're going to go over tonight, which is the Dark Knight, the Dark Knight Returns. Once 12-year-old William saw that, it was over with. There was no going back. If you were going to show me a cartoon, it better be on the level of what I was flipping through those pages. I mean, like Akira-style violence and what Batman was. There was no going back. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about me when it comes to Batman. Well, William hates cartoons. No, I'm not a backwards guy. You can't show me Batman Year One. You can't show me The Dark Knight Returns. You can't show me The Killing Joke. You can't show me Batman Year Two. You can't show me these things and then show me fluff afterwards and expect me to go with that. And in all fairness, like I said, the people who saw that stuff, in all likelihood, never saw what I saw going into that. By the time Batman, the animated series, hit the air, I was in high school. I didn't need a permission slip anymore to buy the hardcore graphic stuff. I could just walk into my comic book store, Lone Warrior Comics in San Bernardino, and get it. So, but I understand, and that's why the thumbnail is reflective of a whole bunch of different Batman, some of which I don't understand. But I understand that's how you guys got in, and then you guys are the audience. So we're going to go into that real quick. Hello, Aaron, my co-host for the day. The Paramount one seems legit. And guess what, guys? We'll go into this detail when we bring Brad on. I'm okay with Paramount's deal falling through because I don't want any more of upheaval. I'm done with the instability of this company. For better or for worse, finish what you started. That has been DC's biggest crime, is not finishing what they've started. It was the same thing with the Snyder stuff. It was the same thing with any of these things. It's been the same thing when they started these storylines and comics. Now we've started to right the ship. You got DC all in. You got Absolute DC, which looks like they're not going anywhere based on their sales. Now you have with James Gunn. Am I going to like everything going with James Gunn? No. The Superman he put out, I enjoyed it. I had some fun with it. But if I had another opportunity for a different type of Superman, I'd go for it if it met the tone that I prefer. But what I don't want is the chest, board to be wiped clean and let's start over again. Now you've wasted my time. If they were to do that, they would have wasted the better part of the last 20 years when it comes to this franchise. And I'm just not here for that. I don't have that kind of time. You guys don't have that kind of time. And retailers, and which movies are, a retail product, need to understand the most valuable commodity your customer has, the one thing that they cannot get back. They can get back money. They can get back, damage. They can get back all those things. You can't get back time. Time is the most valuable commodity that a customer has. And when you do stupid shit like this, you waste the customer's time. And then you're wondering why they're mad. And then everybody calls them entitled. Everybody wants to make fun of them or mock them. And no, when you start me on a path and you don't finish, fuck you. That's what I say. Now, some of these people act crazy, get extreme. But once again, when you call people names and you leave out the most important one that you could call the people in retail, which is customer, you piss people off at all levels. The people you hear, the loudmouths, great. You can engage with 1 or 2% and make a lot of money off of that. But the other people, the most dangerous customer to your business is the customer that just silently gets up and leaves and closes the door behind them without a sound. And that's where Warner Brothers, DC had been up until this point. Really don't want to see them go back again. So, all right. So I'm going to hit your guys' other comments once I bring Brad in. But real quick, we are going to, since I know Brad is, I'm going to respect Brad and not bringing him in for this really quick romp around wrestling. As much as I would if he was doing Kung Fu, I'm just going to go use the bathroom. So here we go with AEW, which was a very, very, very solid pay-per-view. I'm watching WrestlePalooza, and I'm watching this on the same day. One of these was a pay-per-view that I did pay money for, and the other one is a Raw that I paid money for. So I don't know how cool I am with that, but here we go. All Out notification. All right, AEW All Out 2025 from Toronto, Canada. All right, the Op Samoa Joe, Powerhouse Hobbs defeated the workhorseman Anthony Henry by submission. I barely saw that match. I had customers in the store. It was a buy-in match. Another buy-in match. Daniel Garcia or Marina Shafir defeated Kazuchika Shibata. That's a buy-in match, too. Didn't see that one at all. Hologram and Paragon, Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong defeated the Frat House, Cole Carter and Griff Garrison, Preston Vance. Saw a couple minutes of that. When they do these buy-in matches, I'm usually just doing something else. Hardy Cameron, Mina Shakira, Queen Aminata, Will Nightingale, Megan Bain. Oh, wow. Everybody. Triangle Madness were defeated by pinfall. Saw a couple of ones of that one. Pretty good match. Probably could have been on the regular card. Very first match of the night were Edge and Christian. I'm going to call him Edge and Christian. Defeated FTR by pinfall. Was actually a good match. And then all hell broke loose after the match. Beth Phoenix had to come out and take away Stokely Hathaway because he was getting involved. Then you had I forgot who came out, but they were handcuffing him to the ring, and then they spiked pile drive. FTR pile drive Beth Phoenix, Edge's wife. By the way, she could take it. She's pretty brawny, but still, it was kind of weird to see. So they're setting that up, and basically what they're going to end up doing is setting them up to face whoever ends up winning the tag team championships from Brody Lee and Brody Lee Bandito. I'm sorry. All right, the man Ricochet, Bishop Khan, and Taylor Leone defeated the Hurt Singers. This is it was a 6-man tag. I was not expecting other than man to win. They had been building up Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin as unbeatable for a while. Now they've lost a couple straight matches, and this time they actually got beat. It was some chicanery by the heels, but they got beat. Mercedes Moné beat Riho by pinfall, which was an excellent match. This was the first really, really good match of the night. I know a lot of people are sticking Moné winning, but the way they've handled it, whoever she loses to, that's going to be a big moment. Rio is like half her size, put on a great match. Okada versus Takeshita, which was the best match of the night, in my opinion. When I heard that this match was going to be announced, this was the pay-per-view for me. I knew the outcome of this match. Most of these matches, they were set-up matches for something bigger. I don't like pay-per-views being that way, but I'm okay because the storylines that they're pushing are worthy. Okada defeated Takeshita, but he pinned Mascara Dorada, who, when I heard he was going to be in this match, I'm like, oh, geez, a third wheel. They did that so that they could have Okada pin somebody other than Takeshita and keep the heat going, and they weren't ready to take the title, the unified title off Okada yet. They want a bigger match. Dorada, actually, for a guy who was a third wheel in this match, added a lot to this match. I thought he was just going to be a throwaway piece. He added a lot to this match, and I really enjoyed this match. It was the best match of the night. Chris Statlander defeated Timeless Tony Storm and Jamie Hayter and Thekla by pinfall. Really good match. Really good match. Pay-per-view level match. Not as good as the previous match. Oops, I skipped one. But Chris Statlander got the win, and she got the win over Toni Storm. They actually had her pinned. They've been building her up. I did not think they were ready to end Toni Storm. She's one of the biggest draws that they have. But I guess she doesn't need the title to be a draw. John Moxley with Marina Shafir defeated Darby Allin. And it was a coffin match. Of course, John Moxley cheated. Pac, who hasn't been seen since his injury, came out and assisted him. Afterwards, Darby Allin bounced John Moxley, beat the shit out of him, put him in a body bag. So, which was the whole point of that match. Bandito and Brody King, who's Brodito, and the Young Bucks and Jet Speed, Kevin Knight and Speedball Bailey, and the Callis family, which was Hunter Cero and Josh Alexander. This was actually a pretty good match. None of these styles worked together, but they did for this match. I was not expecting Brodito to lead with the titles. I thought the Young Bucks were surely going to take the titles and end up setting themselves up with Edge and Christian for the titles. That didn't happen tonight. I think that's going to happen in the long run. Afterwards, Matt, the Young Bucks were in the ring still, and Jungle Jack comes back. And I say Jungle Jack because he comes back and he goes face. And they do the super kick on him, and then the lights go out, and it's Luchasaurus. The crowd went crazy for this. They went to the Baltimore Jungle song, their song, and everybody was singing along with it. I thought it was kind of cheesy, but you know what? It wasn't for me. Hangman Adam Page defeated Kyle Fletcher in Kyle Fletcher's best singles match of his career. He came in, I got to see him live. He came in with Aussie Open with Mark Davis, not the Mark Davis that owns the Raiders, but the Mark Davis from Aussie. And he's been primarily a tag team wrestler. This was his best singles match. Adam Page always does well, can carry anything, but he didn't have to. It was a great match, a lot of near falls. I knew Adam Page was going to. I didn't think they were going to let Kyle Fletcher win, but there were some times during all these matches where you kind of thought that, ooh, wait a minute. Especially after the Tony Storm match where they had near falls, but it came to fruition. It was a great pay-per-view, very solid pay-per-view. Like I said, I was watching that while I was watching. So imagine this. I'm watching wrestling, and I'm watching a green lady on a broomstick and flying monkeys. And somehow it all seemed right. So that is AEW All Out, another solid pay-per-view from Tony Khan and AEW. And thoroughly enjoyed myself this afternoon. I didn't enjoy the 12 o'clock start time, but I enjoyed it. And like I said, now that we're done talking wrestling, this is how you do it, Brett. You wait till the one person is off the screen where you talk the thing that the other person doesn't care about.
No, I'm going to do it anyway. When the Furious comes out, we're talking Kung Fu.
Okay, and we were talking this afternoon. Does anybody know what the fuck that is? But anyway.
Aaron and I do. Everybody at Toronto. International so.
Well, everybody in Toronto was watching AEW All Out.
Oh, true.
How are you doing this evening? I know you had a rough day. We won't go into details, but
I wasn't able to be on the Wicked Watch party, which I told William Aaron about. I don't want to go into too much detail. I mean, it's nothing like catastrophic, but basically, I had a earlier morning that I usually do on Saturdays, which kind of took a lot, for family reasons, and it kind of took a lot out of me that day between that and the classes I help with in the school on Saturdays. So I just came home and crashed, and So fortunately, I was able to be there for Wicked, which again, sis loves it. I always loved to have been there for it, but again, it's kind of
your sister wasn't there. Aaron was.
Which means I was there.
Do you have the article, the Netflix article? I didn't bring it up. I had too much.
No, let me go ahead and get that.
Because we'll go ahead and tackle that first, and then we'll hit Batman. Pretty light show today because I really didn't feel like talking about myself other than the things, and I got one of them out the way. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was kind of cool. Jack Perry's a bonehead, and what he did was stupid. But you know what? It shouldn't be something that hinders him. He's still a young talent. He's still somebody that I think AEW should invest in. And the scapegoat gimmick just wasn't working. But Jungle Boy, listen, he's a grown-ass man. People love Jungle Boy. When that song went out, and they did like a little vignette where they showed him rebuilding Luchasaurus, and then Luchasaurus came out, they went crazy, man. And it's one of those things where, like, just because I think it's silly, if I'm running a wrestling promotion, it ain't about me. It's about what makes people go. So I enjoyed it. All right, so before we get to that, because I ignored a lot of people. By the way, if you want to, like I said, we're just going to keep this a running gag. If you want to see me suffer or Brad suffer, there's the link. You can click on it. You can donate. If we decide that your movie is suitable for our suffering, then we will play it, depending on if the donation is enough. But if it's not, if it's something we just absolutely can't do, you'll get a refund. But there you go. Tether to the top of the chat. There you go. All right, let's see. How you doing, Music Man? What's going on? Happy Batman Day to you too. How you doing? I got two Australians in here. Yeah, I watched it. It was a 5 match. Like I said, they only did it to fuck with AEW. That's the only reason why this was on this day. And like now that I watched both of them, I'm like, I got my money's worth somewhere. It wasn't with WWE. I really did, dude. And I don't know why they bought him back. And why are you doing another Brock Lesnar squash match? What is that doing for him? He's not going to be on the air long enough for you guys to really make it. And John Cena's retiring in a few months. So you're saying that's going to be his last match? Well, why would you do a squash match? I don't know. I didn't get that. I feel like the superfans may have ruined animated side of Batman for you. Well, no, because the thing there was never any ruining. There was never going to be an acceptance of animated Batman for me after I saw what I saw. Oh, did we lose me or did we lose Brad? Who's all right? Somebody let me know who we just lost. Hold on. Gotta go see who we lost. Okay, we lost Brad. All right, Brad is spinning, which is fine. No, I mean, like I said, once you see, let me go get some of this stuff. Once I was introduced to this, I got introduced to it in comic book form. But this is it. This is it. Once I held this into my little tiny, well, actually a large hand at the time because I was a fairly big 12-year-old. Once I held this into my preteen hands, this was it. All right. You can't show me this. I can't see this and then see fluff. I mean, let me show you some of the stuff in here that I mean, you can't show me these type of panels and this is how Batman gets his answers. You know, this is how Batman handles business. And you got to realize, my 12-year-old mind, this is one of the best damn panels. And then when Batman, these fools, these mutants, these fools are like, "Come on, old man, we can take you. You've lost a step." And Batman's like, "Okay." He gets out of here. He gets out the Batmobile. And he beats the fuck out of the one mutant. And the rest of them are like, "We want nothing from them. We want none of that." And there's blood. And this is back, where, they still frowned on putting the blood in comics. So the blood is like gray and brown. But he's knocking the shit out of this guy. I mean, he's handling these fools. Like I said, you can't. Look, it's just here's another split screen where Carrie saves him because then they all wanted to jump in on him. But yeah, and this is the one where he comes back and finds the mutants after they double teamed him and got the better of him for a little bit. And this is, like I said, this is him, just the one-on-one battle between him and the head mutant, where he just cracks the shit out of this guy. I think he kills him anyway. Yeah, this is I can't. Once you see that, once you see this at age 12. So some of you were the same age when you saw Batman the animated series. So imagine how you felt about that and how I feel about this. All right, let's jump into this nonsense and let's. I'm gonna, like I said, I did my best last night to explain to you guys where I come from. what I think would happen, what I think should happen, and what I think has no real chance of happening. Like I said, I'll say it from the outset. Before I hand it over to Ben, I'll say it from the outset. As somebody who wants to see the conclusion of Zack Snyder's arc, this moves the needle nowhere. If anything, it moves the needle backwards. You don't want this if you want that. You do not want this if you want that. And you don't want the Paramount deal if you want that, to be honest with you, because both of those instances move you further and further away from the likely possibility of ever seeing that again. And right now it's slim because each time we take the screen, every time I hit record or play on any of these streams, we're another hour, day, minute, week, month, year away from the relevancy that this is. Like I said last night, the pathway to this was through Papers and Staples. You guys can watch that show last night or the Friday night Midnight Express Q&A if you want that. I'll answer it for you again if you need to. But we did not get a chance to hear from Brad. So go ahead and read the article and then give your opinion on it real quick.
So, India, this is a Collider's article. There's tons of articles, but this is like relaying all of this news. So a new contender may have just entered the Warner Bros. Discovery sweepstakes, with Paramount and Skydance officially cementing their merger back in August. There were rumblings the newly bolstered entertainment giant under David Ellison was looking to acquire the storied Hollywood studio, bones and all. However, Punt News has now reported that in a shocking twist, Netflix may be considering a bid. Adding smoke to this potential fire is that the streamer's CEO, Ted Sarandos, was recently in attendance at the Crawford Alvarez fight in Las Vegas alongside WBD chief David Sass. So William could gone up and asked him directly about this if he had been there. Okay, so
what's that?
This last line here, adding smoke to this potential fire, is that the streamer's CEO, Ted Sarandos, was recently in attendance at the Crawford Alvarez fight in Las Vegas alongside WBD chief David Zaslav. So if you had been there for that, you could just got it right from the horse's mouth for us.
Yeah, they were all there, but yeah, sure.
The report for details that unlike Paramount's Skydance, which would be acquiring all the branches, cable networks, and more from both Warner Brothers and Discovery sides, Netflix may be more interested in just the studio and streaming parts of the business. It's uncertain just how aggressive the streaming company could be in trying to acquire all that, especially with Ellison looming, with seemingly no worries about the cost for the whole kit and caboodle, and his father, billionaire Larry Ellison, worth over $350 billion as of writing, behind him. With the expected astronomical price of WBD, the company's debts and talks of potentially splitting off the cable networks, however, such a deal would take time to come into place, leaving the door open for Netflix or another suitor to sway Zaslav. Puck has also previously reported that Zaslav isn't certain the right offer will be there if Ellison makes a bid. Whatever the case, a potential move to Netflix would represent a seismic shift in the industry by putting at least some part of a Hollywood legacy company in the hands of a streaming-first giant. And this kind of goes into, this all goes in Netflix's history and what they are. And so, yeah, that's kind of the meat of the whole thing as far as the potential bid for all this would be. Okay. So now I was not able to be on last night. I told William ahead of time, which again, and I guess that ended up being for the best because again, I had a very sudden beginning to my morning this morning that was earlier than it usually is. So that would have taken even more out of me if I'd been on. So, but yeah, kind of give me the cliff notes of what the kind of your breakdown of it was last night.
Okay, so I'm going to stick to this question, which has not been answered to me. Why now?
Yeah,
everything
and you said that when I sent you this, and I'm beats me. Why beats me for Paramount too? Why now?
Well, Paramount, I know why, because Paramount Skydance wasn't an entity to be able to do anything. I know why they're doing it, and as soon as they were able to do it, they are doing it. Netflix has been here the whole time. Amazon has been there the whole time. Microsoft and Apple, they've all been here, and they could have gotten it for cheaper. Comcast, all of them have been there, and there's nothing different about this time around other than Paramount wants it. But here's the thing. If you look at what this talk has done to the stock, it's inflated the value of the company. So you're going to be overpaying for this now. So because once you start a bidding war, people are going to be like, okay, something's going to happen. Now the stock is up. Last I looked at it, $19. We know where that stock has been hovering around the last 2 years. So why wouldn't you have done it then instead of doing it now, where you're basically going to overpay for the company? And as far as Comcast is being one of the people I'm hearing about, I think there's a good chance that everybody but Paramount is in it just to drive up the bargain, just to do the same exact thing that Universal Comcast did when Fox is up for sale and Disney wanted them. They knew Disney was going to pay whatever they needed to do, even if they were going to lose money for years on end. And even though if you look at the revenue from when Disney purchased Fox till now, that they haven't made 74 billion yet in that, so they're still hurting from that sale. And you know why? Because Universal came in and basically screwed them. They came in with a bid that they knew Disney was going to match. But that's a $45 billion company that ended up being a $74 billion company because Universal said, "Hi, we're going to screw you guys." And then whenever you can make your competitor bleed out more than they should, it's good for you. So if Universal's involved, I think it's just to drive up the price. They may not intend to buy. Netflix, the same thing. Now, thing I addressed last night is everybody's like, this would be horrible for movies. And you know what? For the theatrical experience, there's two different ways that this could go. Once again, as I said last night, they can basically say, get off our backs about this theatrical shit. We're not changing. We're Netflix. Let us be Netflix. It's not in our business model, but you know what? We got this studio now, and that'll be our theatrical ring. Leave us alone. And then Netflix would have a distributor for anything they wanted to because Warner Brothers is a distributor. Now, the other thing could be is, you know what? They just want the content. They just want the IPs. They want everything to consolidate into their library because guess what? That's what Netflix is. Netflix is not a theatrical vehicle. So if they were to buy it, that's one of two things that they could do. So yeah, and like I was saying last night, I'm guessing, I could be way off, but if it's anywhere between 15 and 30% of all movies being distributed right now, I would guess, somebody can correct me in the chat if you have it, if you can Google it, would be from Warner Brothers and their distribution. And if you were to take them out of the theatrical spectrum, you would still have 70% of something. But like I explained last night, there are businesses out there, if they lost 10% of their business, they're going down. People don't realize that most of these businesses operate on the fringes. They're razor thin profit margins. So if you're losing that much, you probably can't survive, even if there's other studios, even if there's other movies. You lose, you're existing within the means that you are pulling in. And if that drops 30%, you don't have enough cover for that. That's if they do that. We don't know what their plans are, but this is just a bit. In regards, like I said, I addressed the whole thing because that's been coming up. I'll just give it to 5 seconds that it garners right now. As far as like the storylines that we've been following since 2013, this means absolutely nothing for that. No matter who buys these, nothing good, but nothing at all, most likely. So that's the 5 seconds I'll do that.
Well, see, the irony of that is that you're saying that means there's nothing immediate that portends, and yet because Willie and I were talking a little bit about this DMing. It's like the people who are obsessing most about that angle of it are the people who have said it has no chance of happening with Netflix. Like there has and of course we're talking about the whole Cell Snyderverse and Netflix thing. That's been a very divisive kind of topic on that. And then this comes along, and the people I see most talking about that are the people who have been kind of poo-pooing that idea the most.
None of those people mean anything to me by any chance. Let's throw on my screen, but I'll let Brad have his couple of seconds still.
Well, I told William, it's like, it's again, I've always been kind of agnostic on the whole sell the Netflix idea. I mean, it's because I'm somebody who's like, I really don't care like what company logo or what entity is the one doing it. I just want to see the whole thing through.
And like I said, I think this
started,
is.
I want to, and so when the whole sell Netflix thing came up, I was like, it's okay. I mean, hey, let's give it a shot. The worst thing that can happen is they'll say no, and we're in the exact same spot we are now. So nothing ventured, nothing gained. But that really turned into a really divisive, acrimonious,
Well, it brought out assholes. It just brought out assholes. Yeah. It brought out assholes, and it just instead of having a respectful conversation about it, and they just were mean-spirited and they were shitheads to people. If you don't think it can happen, then it's like I said, it's like me telling Linus and Charlie Brown not to go sit out in that pumpkin patch and wait for the great pumpkin. If you two clowns want to do that, you can do it all night. I'm going to go out about my day. People couldn't go about their business. They had to make an industry out of fucking with people. I said it, and you can go back and watch the shows that you would never sell an IP, you would license it, and B, if it was worth that much to you, then you wouldn't sell it to anybody. You would keep it in house. Which, if it, like I said, your best bet is James Gunn doing something in house with him at some point down the line. But like I said, technically speaking, if Netflix owned it, technically speaking, they could. Realistically speaking, no. I think there's more of a chance of me literally growing antlers and hooves of it happening anytime soon. I just don't see it, and I don't see any business reason for it right now.
But the thing I was, getting kind of dealing with, again, going back to that side of it, it's like, the petty side of me, it's like, as somebody who was always kind of, again, agnostic on the idea, it's like, hey, if this is again, what harm is there in like taking a shot with this? It's like, again, worst thing that happens, they say no, and to see, the assholes that brought out and all of this. I mean, the conversation I've seen since then from that crowd, it's clear they're shitting bricks about this.
Hold on. Hold your thought, Brett. Hold your thought. This is Brad's opinion. This is Brad's opinion. So when you come at Brad for whatever discourse you want to have, this isn't me. The people who he's talking about have not taken up one molecule of my day. I don't care about these people. I don't care about what they think. I don't care about what they think they're winning or losing. I stray from those conversations. I don't do victory laps. If you do, I think people who do victory laps are losers. So this is not me. I did my business explanation of how something like that could happen, and I let it go. You know, if you are paying attention, and you've been paying attention to where I think if that would ever resolve, I don't want it on the big screen right now. I said this last night. I don't want it in animation right now. I told you where I want it. I'm going to give you a hint. They're all behind me right now. There's a bunch of them behind me, and they're made out of papers and staples, and they're dirt cheap. So that's where I'm at with this. But Brad's got it.
Again, it's like I as somebody who was, again, kind of agnostic on the topic, it's like, hey, if there's no harm in asking through that avenue of the sell Netflix idea, and how the discourse that brought out, and how it brought out, assholes and a lot of people. And again, a lot of the commentary I've seen on this development, which again, all it is a theoretical bid at this point. And even with Paramount, they haven't, like, nobody's actually made a bid yet, right? It's just like
they're just preparing bids.
Yeah. So again, on a personal side, it's like, I have seeing the kind of the reactions to this. It's like, again, people clearly shitting bricks about the idea of eating crow on this, even though it's like, my thoughts on, like, if it's actually happening, if it, through Netflix, if it happened, if Netflix actually bought Warner Brothers, it's like, that's a lot more complicated. But I'll use the one quote from the 2003 Ang Lee Hulk, for, again, like, watching people lose their minds about who were really kind of acting like dicks about this towards anyone who, like, wants to see this through. I'll use a quote from the Ang Lee 2003 Hulk, sitting back and kind of watching them shaking their boots, bad business maybe, but personally gratifying. So
yeah, and now I'll put myself in there. I don't give a fuck about you guys one way or another. I don't care. I'm not going to engage you in this conversation anymore. The stupid stuff that goes on in the comments, and I don't listen. You don't. And the people he's talking about, you don't mean enough to me to even waste that kind of time on. Why would I give a fuck what you think? Why would I give a fuck what you don't think? If you don't think something can happen, great. But I'm not going to. Something happening, win, lose, doesn't how you feel about that's not going to matter to me. How I feel about it shouldn't matter to you. I don't do the petty shit. I'm a grown fucking man. I don't, we don't have to disagree. And like I said, I get plenty of comments and all kinds of stuff with people who can call me all kinds of stuff. The Snyder bro, Snyder this. I don't respond to most of them. I don't respond hardly to any of them. In fact, if you notice, I've done a good job lately in just basically banning people, which is something I didn't do before. But I don't have time for you. I don't care what you think. And I'm not going to have you wasting your time or wasting my time or my chat's time or my audience time, whether they're watching live or not, caring. I'm not that petty. I don't care. I don't care if you do a victory dance, and I don't do victory laps. Like I said, I believe if you have to do a lap for victory to validate yourself, that's loser mentality right there. Nobody should have to tell you if you're a winner or not. You shouldn't have to tell yourself that. How you're living is how you do it. So this entire conversation, when I heard the Netflix things, I was like, oh my gosh, do I just want to dig a hole and put my head in it? Because all the petty, stupid stuff that goes back and forth over it. And it's meaningless. It's meaningless. And there's been nothing to even talk about it. I think the likelihood of Netflix being the buyer is not as high as someone else because Netflix doesn't even want to buy it, from what I understand. They're waiting for the company to split to make their bid, as far as I know. Whereas Paramount wants to buy it all, and they want to buy it at $23 a share. They're literally going to pay $4 or $5 more than the companies actually work per share. So I don't see anything getting into their bid if they want to. But once again, I'm on record.
This is the thing I'm kind of waiting on too. And this is where I'll kind of give my opinion on the kind of more the business details of this. Is so. And I told William before we kind of started talking about this on air, is I think personally this is really starting to bring into focus for me. Is like I think when the WB Discovery merger happened, it's really started to look to me like David Zaslav at Discovery's their goal was, let's polish this turd of a studio at this point. Let's pretty it up.
Basically they're flipping it. They're flipping it.
Let's pretty it up. Let's renovate. Let's make it attractive to people. Cash a check and go home. And that's I think that's borne out by the fact that all of a sudden we're like hearing multiple bids or multiple rumors of bids, to buy them outright. So, which again, this kind of goes back to also something I think I'd said before. A while back we've been talking about the potential of another merger. Is if I were gunning all this, I'd feel pretty used. I feel pretty used.
Oh, you brought this back up then, and even if I'm James Gunn and I know I'm being used, I still say yes. He had to know this. He knew the stability of the company, but it was a once in a lifetime shot, and it's not going to reflect poorly on him.
Yeah, that's what it means. Like, I mean, because I heard you made that comment before, and we've listed off who's directed a Superman. It's Richard Donner, Richard Lester, the guy who did Quest for Peace. His name escapes me. Probably escapes most people.
It needs to.
Brian Singer, Zack Snyder, and now James Gunn. So what's like 6 directors who have directed a Superman solo movie. So
and you're a studio head. You're a studio head. How many of those are in the world right now? I mean, it's a small number of people, and no matter what they do above him, it doesn't reflect poorly. I say, yeah. If I knew how this was going to end, if it was going to end screwy, I'm still going to. He still made Superman. He still got something going, and now it's up to the incoming regime to decide. Now, the other thing I addressed not last night, but last week, if you think that there is not a high potential for upheaval or change, that James Gunn can't be removed, and I'm not advocating this, I already told you where I am with this, then you haven't been paying attention to anything Warner Brothers has done.
And I can tell, going back to what I was saying a minute ago, it's like I can tell, particularly with the Netflix thing starts, like there are people who have definitely not been paying attention.
And it doesn't matter who, if Ellerson comes in and he says, I'm a fan of what you're doing, dude, keep on keeping on, then there you go. You have your answer. But that hasn't happened yet. That hasn't happened since AOL Time Warner. Those people came in and really ruined Warner Brothers. They started Warner Brothers on the path of deterioration back in the mid-90s, and that's where we are now. Every person who's came after that has done the exact same thing that people are thinking. Like I already told you, my preference is that neither one of these companies buy them, even though I know that's not realistic. But my preference is whoever comes in, it goes through an evaluation point and sees where this is going. Let's see the results of what James Gunn is doing before we blow it up. Because the one crime that DC has committed against his fans is fucking up the continuity so many times that people don't trust you anymore. Right now, he's been on the job a couple of years. Give him some more time, and let's see where it goes. Now, if it's not good and the money's not there, then I understand you're making a business decision. But I am not for blowing up something for just blowing up sake. I'm done with that. DC has killed itself with that. And I will go on record once again, guys. If I will take the heat from either side, I don't care. This is the only format that I want to start with. All right, you see this comic book? Papers and staples, 32 pages. It's cheapest shit to make. The cheapest out of all the things, out of all the cartoon, the Legos, and the theatrical, and this and that, of all of those things, all of those very expensive things, papers and staples is the cheapest. You cannot beat it. And guess what? You get to make 12 whatever ones of these. And if you don't think you're getting the story all in here, you got satellite stories. I remember when Infinite Crisis happened, we had some really kick-ass Legion stories that were happening on the sides. We had a lot of cool stuff happen in those. You give a 12-issue maxi series. You get this is I think this is this a Jim Lee cover? I don't think this is a Jim Lee cover, but I had one. This is the last one I have left, and it's not for sale because I keep it just for this reason. Keep it just for this reason. Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Alex Ross. Each one of them has, dude. I'm literally upholding my comic book industry with how many variants that Absolute Batman is selling right now, and they're averaging 450,000 copies per sale, and they're not slowing down. If you got anywhere near this, if you got this anywhere near that, that's a lot of money. Not only is it a lot of money dollar-wise, it's a lot of units. Because remember, yeah, comic books are not as much as a movie ticket. But if I got 450 units, there's a chance that those 450,000 units will buy other things that are more expensive. They'll buy the plushies. They'll buy the toys. They'll rent the stuff. They'll get the T-shirts. You're maximizing your units when you just start it with papers and staples. If you came in, and I said this last night, I didn't think I've been consistent, so I'm not moving any goalposts. If you came into me and I had the full control, I had the keys, yay or nay, thumbs down, it's up to me. Of where we should continue this, it's right here. You do it, you get the story out there, you let the metrics build themselves, and then you let someone else have to think about whether they want to take the risk or not. You let someone with the money come to you and say, 450,000 people, wow, this is selling out. Because I guarantee you, within 2 to 3 years, possibly more likely 2, we will have some other adaptation of Absolute Batman that is not a comic book. That is either a game, that is either a show, a cartoon, or a movie. Because of the sales. Because like I said, just like the Schumacher cut and the Air cut, just because you want it doesn't mean shit. It means shit to you, and I can respect that. But when you're walking into somebody and saying, I want you to continue this, you have to speak the language of the people you're asking from. And their language is volume. Their language is metrics, not desire. Desire doesn't mean shit. Money does. Metrics does. Potential for revenue does. I'm telling you, costs you nothing. And if it doesn't sell, guess what? DC, you put out enough shit in the last 10 years that's filled up quarter comics, it didn't kill you. But I got a feeling that this will sell. And not only would it sell amongst geeks like me and geeks like Brad, you're going to get the people who are laughing at the jokes in Barbie and all that. You know what? People are like, oh, they're laughing at it. They know about you. They know about you. And if they know about you and this whole plight, guess what else they know about? They know about this. So now it becomes a collector's item for them. Now we got second printings. Right? The money is right here. So for anybody who's going to come in and mention, you Snyder Bros, you just can't get it. First, get the fuck off. Second of all, no. William is not for that. William is starting here. Starting where it all starts from. Starting where the point where none of this could be possible without this. Start with the comic book. The comic book does well, then you let the numbers speak for itself. Stop fighting this war. You're fighting not only are you fighting an enemy you can't see, you're fighting an enemy that's getting smaller and smaller in the rearview mirror. This is right here. So I just want to cut that off because I know the comic section is going to be full of people misinterpreting where I want. Listen to me closely. You can listen to Brad if you want to, and you can take Brad for his opinion, and that's his opinion. I am steadfast if this story were ever to continue. on any level where I want it to continue. That's why I keep this here. Why the fuck hasn't this been done yet? Hey. But
why hasn't it been done yet?
Because you had management that really wasn't good, not just in the film section. You had bad management. Remember, these are the same people who thought some of these reboots were a good idea. And now look where we're at. So they had to evolve. Because, to be honest with you, 2 years ago, what Scott Snyder is doing right now wouldn't be happening. Not on that scale. It just wouldn't be happening. Their mentality was, we have to blow up this thing in order to make room for our thing. And now that he's shown them that that is not the case, we can have cake and we can eat it. Whatever the fuck that term came from. Why would you have a cake and not eat it?
Not eat it, yeah.
But you know what I mean. But that's where William is at. That is I'm going to put a banner. That is the official stance of the Sci-Fi Center. William Powell is that I don't want Justice League 2, 3, 10, 20, 30 on the big screen. I don't want it in the cartoon. If it gets there after we've proven ourselves here, then fine. But I don't want to. If I was an executive on the other side of the desk, and you came into me with some of the lists and stuff that people come up with and some of the things that they say, I'm throwing you out of the office. Even if I agree with you. If you come in with the whining and you don't have a financial path so that I can take to my investors and say, you know what, let's dump some money into it, then you got to get out. And you got to be honest with yourself about this. If you're trying to get somebody to do anything like on a movie scale, no matter who the distributor or studio is, how are we paying for it? Where's the money coming from? The people who are going to slap money down for it, where is their money coming back to it, and where's the profit that they're going to want on their investment? And if you can't answer any of those questions beyond, I want to see it, it's the same thing with the Schumacher cut, it's the same thing with the Ayer cut, it's the same thing with any of these things. If you don't have a business path to get to what you want to, then you should expect to get laughed out of that office. So come up with something that will get you. Come up with your own yellow brick road. That's where I'm at. Felt that I needed to say that because I know it's coming. I know it's coming. All right. I don't think I have. You got any more to add to that? Or?
Well,
did you just freeze on me?
It's theory that haven't been made yet, but it's again the main thing I've taken away from it is that this company's getting sold again. I mean, it's like the right.
Well, okay. We've been. That's not a news flash, too.
Well, yeah, but we've
been saying that for 2 years now.
There's been people who've had their head in the sand. There's people like on their streams, like you and I have been on, who have really. Oh, and they thought Hamada was going to stay, and they thought Sarnoff was going to stay, and they thought Emmerich was going to stay because they were doing such a great job. Yeah, sure. I figured this was going to happen because you look at who was buying it, and then some of the stuff that he was doing, and he's doing exactly what we said he was going to do. And I'm an idiot. I'm an absolute fucking bonehead, and I was telling you 2 years ago, this is happening. I didn't know who. But we knew it was, and like I said, if you want to go watch the streams that we've been on, this is not no one. This should be a surprise to no one. But here we are, and like I said, I just hope that whatever the outcome is, that it doesn't destabilize what has been being built the last few years on all these levels. The Comcast one, that's like, is there a bid that Comcast is considering me? Because that's kind of
they're considering a bid, but I think they're just screwing with people. I think because Comcast did this when Disney was trying to buy Fox, they drove up the bidding, making a bogus offer that they had to take seriously, and Disney was not going to let anyone purchase that company. They made Disney pay almost $30 billion more than Fox was worth at the time because they had to have it.
Do you think that because one candidate we've talked about, or two candidates actually we've talked about before, and this are Apple and Amazon. Do you see them stepping into this now? This actually kind of like snowballing?
No,
you don't think so?
I don't think the other people besides Paramount that have stepped in are for real. Be honest with you, because once again, it goes back to my prime question, and maybe there's an answer because I'm a bonehead. Maybe there's an answer that some corporate person can give me. Why would you wait till now? You're literally paying this company had stock when it was eligible to be sold. That day that Warner Brothers was eligible to be bought by somebody, I'm pretty sure their stock was between $7 and $8. It's $19 now. And Paramount's offer for the entire company is 23 something a share, which is pretty damn good. If I'm a stockholder, I'm taking that offer.
Aaron says it's 3 Paramount, Netflix, NBC, Universal.
And I think one of those is a fraud. I think one of those is trying to say, you know what? I'm just not content with watching you guys rip each other's toes off. I want to make this more painful for you. And that's what I really think that's what Universal's doing. I really think that's what Universal's doing because once again,
so you think that you think Netflix is more legit than Universal?
Slightly, but not that much. Because once again, guys, why would you wait when you could have made this purchase? Their revenue stream hasn't changed. Their resources to buy Warner Brothers have not changed since Warner Brothers was legally able to be sold. But remember, that's been a while now. Warner Brothers has been eligible for a sale for quite some time now. And it's only because Paramount and Skydance became a company and a lawful entity to be able to make the purchase is why they're doing it. I know why they're doing it. Everybody else is like, I mean, if you don't want them to have it, you're willing to overpay for the company that much? And people are like, well, Disney is still hurting from that $74 billion. Because like I said, you add up all the money that they've made from those IPs since then, they haven't come close to making $74 billion. They won't for quite a time. Well, as a company, yeah, they're fine. But you got to realize Disney pulls in $38 billion per parks. They spent almost twice that to acquire Fox in one fell swoop. So I don't think they want to do that again. Microsoft could, yeah, mathematically, possibility, yes, they could all do it. Once again, my question goes to is what were you waiting for? And are you serious now? I think Netflix, I do agree with people that say Netflix would be a horrible option. Because especially if they decide that they're going to go ahead and consolidate into streaming. Because when you are going to hurt, you're going to hurt the market share. You're going to lower the market share. There'd be 30% less things to exhibit if they were to do that. But on the other hand, they could say, hey, you know what? We want a distributor. Warner Brothers, Warner Brothers, but I don't know, and I didn't see it in that article because I read this article too. What I've been hearing about them is they wanted to wait until the company was spun off and buy the streaming and the studio, whereas Paramount,
I don't think anybody wants this, Aaron.
Nah, he's still hurt. He made a purchase that he don't want.
Yeah. So
if he could, if Twitter hadn't lost so much value, he would have sold it already.
Yeah. So it's like, I was like, no, people like Elon Musk don't want that probably. So.
Listen, I'm going to let people hope. Like I said, Linus and Charlie Brown can sit out there all night waiting for that pumpkin and get Snoopy in his Red Baron suit in return. I'm not going to. If you want something, if you're hoping for something, I am never going to get in your way. I'm hoping for Mindhunter season 3, and I might be getting it. But I'm not going to give two shits about somebody coming. You're never going to get Mindhunter season. I don't care. You shouldn't care about what. I don't listen. I want you guys to have all the things that you want that make you happy. I'm not rooting for you not to have something. So, if those people want something, let them continue to want it as long as they're not fucking with you, you know.
And that's where again the petty side of me comes out and says like for the people who are very clearly nervous about this,
like I said,
it
shouldn't mean anything.
Bad business, but personally gratifying.
I'm just beyond that.
It's like if we, it's kind of like the whole people who didn't like Zach's what he was doing and then coming around the Snyder Cut. It's like Williams says, "Hey, welcome aboard." I'm slightly different. I say, "Okay, I get to take the piss out of you one time, then you're welcome."
I think that's wasting. You just wasted 2 seconds of your life with that. That's how I feel about that.
It's my investment in my 2 seconds, man.
I don't give a fuck about them either way. But like I said, as long as you're not hurting me with your wishes, then continue to wish on. Johnny Dome, Netflix is the word. Yeah, I am going to agree on a lot of different levels. And who I think it will be bad for the most? Netflix. I don't think Netflix should get into the theatrical business. I don't think Netflix should get into the distribution business. They can get these things. There are cheaper ways for them to get stuff in their library. I always shrug my shoulders when people want Netflix to be something other than Netflix. And the last thing that Netflix needs to do is join those people and think that you need to be. Be what you've been. Be what's gotten you the revenue, the tons of revenue that you operate at now. I think this would be bad for Netflix as well. But yeah, it'd definitely be bad for the for the industry as a whole if they went the route, one of the two routes. I'm thinking if they were the distributors, if they use Warner Brothers, then nothing changes. But if they just say, you know what, fuck this, we don't want that overhead, then yeah, you're in trouble there. Batman animated series is one of the best Batman things we've ever gotten. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to guess, Braden, that you were of an age where that may have been the first thing that you saw. Maybe not, but I don't know anybody from my generation that saw anything prior to that that had held this religion in their hand that would come to that conclusion. But once again, this is why I'm having this discussion, not to malign you, but to bring it to the surface that, listen, the Batman mansion has a lot of doors. I don't care how you get in anymore. I don't agree with this, by the way, but like I said, that is it means something to you that is solitary. So just like this means something to me. So who am I to tell you? It's the troll of it all. Yeah. Yeah, I have Netflix. Let's see. So I just wanted to be Apple because it would destroy it. Oh no, I don't. Okay. If it's something, I don't want something to happen just because it'll fuck with Disney, because I watch Disney too.
I think he's saying that because the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing too.
Oh, Jimmy Kimmel, yeah. Well, that's
because that's also apparently they are actually feeling the heat from that. Like there's a pretty.
Oh yeah, they lost $400 billion.
Yeah,
did they say 400 million or 400 billion? Somebody said. Yeah, was it a B or an M?
Yeah, I need to look that. It was probably a B, but.
And market share in like 4 days.
Yeah, and like Disney Plus subscribers, they've definitely taken a hit too, and that's so it's like
I know, and it's become a trend. And it was hey, listen, people were already on the edge when it came to Disney Plus to begin with. You didn't need any friends. Yeah, so let me know if it was 400 million. It had to be 400 billion. Was it 400 billion?
It had to be 400 billion.
Because if it's 400 billion, I don't care what government we live under. That's enough to stand up to them. Okay. You now know you by losing that, you had that to lose. So that's a lot of money.
I look at like Disney Plus or Disney losses after Jimmy Kimmel.
If it was all over my timeline, it was probably in my thing. But that's a lot of money.
If they've lost that amount, Kimmel will be reinstated before the year is out.
And plus, you got to deal with the lawsuit.
3.8 billion loss as boycott grows over.
Okay, not 100, but okay. But that's still a lot of money, dude.
With a B, that's what the billion with a B. So, yes, they will. Kimmel's like, this is not going to last, guys.
Like I said, they're going to end up having to settle. They're basically going to have to both relent and pull back without saying anything. Kimmel's not apologizing. He's already said that, and he has the law on his side. Because the commissioner came out and said, if the commissioner had said nothing, he would have been.
By the way, if you guys in the chat anybody watch the Daily Show, Jon Stewart had a hilarious.
Yeah, he came on a night that he wasn't even scheduled to be on.
Yeah, he's usually on Mondays now. But he came on like Thursday, and he had a hilarious show about this. So go and go.
Comedy Central ain't gonna touch him. So
yeah.
I don't care about the Snyderverse anymore. It's gotten too much bullshit behind moving forward with the DCU. Here's the thing though.
It's like don't.
Yeah, that's your prerogative. Here's the thing though. I don't look at the DCU is just what I have now. If I had them both in front of me, and I had to choose one, which I don't think that's fair, to even do that, I'm not choosing the DCU. I'm watching the DCU. That's what we have now. It's not out of it's like I'm starving, and you took away what my preferred meal, and you gave me something that's digestible. And I'm not saying the DCU is that bad, but that's not the reason why I would move forward. The reason I would move forward because it's either don't watch anything, which is an option a lot of people have taken. There's been a lot of fans that have just gone away. But I can still want to see the fruition of the DCU, but that has nothing to do whether and the bullshit that's attached itself to the Snyderverse. That has nothing to do with the story. See, Here's the problem: you guys attach things to the story that not you, Music Man, but people in general and pundits and other YouTubers. You attach shit to the story that has nothing to do with the story. A fan you don't like has nothing to do with the story. A YouTuber you don't like has nothing to do with the conclusion. So if you feel that way, that's fine. But please separate the two because the story has merit, even if some of the things that have attached themselves to it that you have a problem with don't.
Well, like you were saying at the beginning too. It's like, I mean, you're saying the reason why you don't want like the Netflix or even the Paramount, wanting to go through is that you're afraid of like getting the rug pulled out from under you again under DC.
Yeah,
And it's
starting to like this peacemaker thing a little bit.
And every time that happens, it's like you have the nerve to raise a word of objection, and you get called toxic or this, that, or whatever. It's like, no, I'm a customer who's invested my time, my money in something, and you took it away, and now you're mad at me because I'm upset about that.
Right now, I'm James Gunn's customer, but since I can't trust this whole situation enough, I'm halfway in and halfway out the door. Because remember what I said.
Fourth, non-trolling fourth for once.
Keep that up there because that's actually a decent point. I said this from the moment that James Gunn was announced and that he announced his slate. The biggest thing I have is I don't like having my time wasted. And if I find something in this DCU that I like, and my exact words, I can hear my Kermit the Frog voice between my own ears right now, and there's another merger or there's another purchase, and that person comes in with their idea and flushes what I spent another 2 or 3 years investing with, then I'm done. So I'm halfway out the door, halfway in. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing so far, but that foot to run out of that burning building is right on the other side of that doorway. So here we are again. Exactly. I can hear my own voice saying exactly what could possibly happen now. Fourth 1,000 completing the DCU would make. Yeah, and people don't want to hear that, but to me, like I said, I think that when you are selling a brand new customer, let's get rid of the Snyder Bros and the anti-Snyder goofballs and all those other people. Just put them off, and let's focus on where you should always be focusing on, looking forward anywhere, which is a brand new customer that is going to come in and see everything you've ever done. When he's coming in and seeing the movies that that the DCU were, now there's 3 movies and there's a bunch of messes. I would like to. If that person is going to be watching the associated content that's in my streaming service that it's on my platform, I want you to see the nice mansion, not the one where we just evicted somebody and they stripped all the gold out of the faucets and they ripped up the air conditioner to get the copper. I don't want you to see that. I want you to see something that flows you into the next thing. And I think that concluding that, and they had the opportunities to do that, would have strengthened it. And James Gunn could have overseen that. He still may. We don't know what the crazy man is up to.
We got 3 episodes that he's playing close to the vest coming up here. So,
and then he's got the entire time, whatever he reveals after that. So I'll give him a chance. But yeah, I think that when you don't finish what you start, you're asking me for new money when I just watched you sloppily throw around the old money I just gave you. I just don't trust you, But yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, and let me go back up to this. Who was it? Yeah, it's $4 billion. So it's a 3.8 billion, but still, it's like that's billion with a B.
Still a lot of money. Yeah, 400 billion. Somebody's getting tossed overboard. But yeah, 4 billion is still a lot of money. We're talking about 4 billion. Oh, it's only 4 billion.
It's 4 billion over the course of like a week.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to use. Happy Batman Day. Exactly, 100%. Which is why, if I'm one of these other people besides Paramount, why would you? You're basically buying a company with inflated value.
So you could have gotten it for cheaper. And again, it's like the Paramount. That's one thing William asked me when I sent him the whole thing about the Netflix potential bid is why they do this. Again, it's like I don't know why Paramount's doing it. I mean why they're initiating all this now. It's like that's above my pay grade. So
yeah, this is exactly what happens, which is like I said. And generally, if you want something at a price that's feasible for you, you don't wait until this to happen. You don't wait until somebody else throws their hat in and establishes their price, because that's going to increase your price, unless you just want to blow that money. But then again, once again, you could have already blown that money. I don't know.
Yeah, you got like an ambulance driving by out there?
Yeah, what's going on here? We just had a car show out here that I was kind of keeping an eye on. No, that's the car show. That's the horn effects from the car show. Yeah, they have it tuned to their engine, so as they're speeding up, you hear it. So it's like an old 1940s car. It's a nice car.
Yeah, man, I can hear it loud and clear, man.
I wish I had this thing to show you. That's like one of those 1935. He's got like 2 or 3 of them, right? So he's got a looks like a old school Chevy. It's like a row of them now, and they have the the sound of their thing going like that. So
Yeah.
I love these car shows. It just fills up the parking lot.
Actually, this just occurred to me, and maybe this is maybe we can make this a topic as we go into because again we're going into the final 3 of Peacemaker, which is those are the ones where it's like he's gone through the portal now. This is the one we're supposed to be getting like all the big twists and reveals and cameos and all these things that he's Gunn's really gonna have his way to keep secrets. So maybe we can like touch a bit on this tonight. Now we've put out a few theories on this, but I mean potentially like what cameos or what twists would we want to see in it? You've already put out the idea of like Ezra's Flash showing up or Momoa's Lobo, Momoa's Aquaman. But are there any others that going to maybe spring to mind as far as like it doesn't?
Oh, I think Superman's a guarantee.
Oh, that's a given. It's like Corn Sweat's totally on the show.
I think Hawk Girl. I think the Justice Gang.
They were already on the show.
Yeah, but they're actually going to have roles like talking or moving.
But it doesn't even necessarily have to be like the Snyder or the Gunn characters. It's like anybody like who could be on the other side of one of those doors. Like
I don't know. It could be somebody. Shit, it could be a Metron or somebody from Fourth World. It could be.
We put out the one theory was like he opens one of those doors, he sees Darkseid looking through the portal.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, that would
because James Gunn is a comic book fan. He understands the unique nature of the Fourth World. That could be something. Because remember, everything we're watching originally came from what was a DCU, where Darkseid was a factor, and it's his now to use. And he doesn't have to disrupt anything. If you show Darkseid getting up from the throne, you don't have to.
Just that shot of him turning around, looking through the portal, and
you don't have to attach that to anything Snyder because Darkseid exists outside of the multiverse. In that respect, you could attach that to your own stuff.
That's Darkseid of all DC.
Yeah, that's the way that was reading pre-credit. And since he's a comic book, he could go for that. That would be kind of a cool callback. But like I said.
Well, again, it's like you don't even have to film anything new. You just use that one shot.
Yeah, you just use the shit that's already there. Zack Snyder can make a cameo like he did on.
I know
Rick and Morty. Rick and Morty will be there.
Well, you talked about like one thing you'd be kind of cool is like if Ezra's Flash were to show up, and the idea is like it's picking up from the ending where he meets Clooney, and so he's like, okay, I got to fix this again, and he just keeps zooming back, and you get like different guys. Like one of them is like Corn Sweat, one of them is Cavill, one of them is Zack Snyder, maybe.
Yeah, they're all Yeah, they're all Batman. He keeps going back and fucking it up.
Yeah.
Dude, Jimmy Kimmel. Make one of them Jimmy Kimmel.
It might be a little bit late. Unless they've already filmed that, it's probably too.
Oh, they could film that in like 6 hours.
You think they could between now?
Yeah,
and
it's just him getting out of a limo and walking up and saying, "Barry, what the fuck's going on?"
Oh, that would blow up the internet.
That would be hilarious. And that's the kind of mind James Gunn appears to be to me. Yeah. He just appears to be like a nothing off the table type of guy. And I'm like, that's a fun guy. Like I said, here's another reason why I don't want the Paramount thing to happen. And I think it's going to happen. But I don't want there to disrupt it because you're not going to find the kind of guy to make all this craziness work in the way that it needs to work. You may find a corporate stiff. You may find another exec. You're not going to find the guy who has the mindset to make this fun. Like I always say, they tripped over their dicks to get him, but they ultimately got the right guy. Not for lack of trying to fuck it up, but they got the James Gunn. If you strip away the shit that everybody's been through and the battle scars that they have from all these old wars and fandom wars, if you just in a vacuum with his qualifications and his mindset, that's the right guy. That's the right guy. If we'd have had a guy like this as the studio head in 2013, you and I probably would never meet. I would have never met the film junkie Enoch, none of these guys. So we got that guy now. We have the guy, and here we go with another fucking merger.
And see, that's why ultimately I think probably the best case scenario, whether it's Netflix or Paramount or Universal, is probably what you're saying about. It's like the buyout, the sale happens, and they decide. I think the biggest safeguard towards like any big upheaval with DC is the fact that anybody going in can recognize it's like we just keep like pulling the plug on stuff and just expecting people to come back for more. So I think that's probably the thing that argues the most against doing another, hey, we're just stopping this midstream and doing our own thing. So yeah, I think.
But people who listen to the show and get in the comments will be like, they won't listen to anything we just said. This is what James Gunn fired. No more firings. We fired the people we needed to fire and moved on. You got the right guy, and I just if you have a grand design, Ellerson, whoever it is, if you have a grand design, this is all I ask. Sit back for a second. Let's see where this goes. Have a conversation and see if your design can line up with his design without pushing him out or making him feel that he's not the studio head. This is probably already happening. To be honest with you, I guarantee you, Ellerson has had a conversation with James Gunn. And so I'm hoping that there is that because, like I said, stop blowing this shit up. The biggest thing you have with your clientele is the trust that you're going to follow through.
Yeah, and again, that's
like 20 some odd years, if not more.
I think that's the biggest kind of roadblock towards like another upheaval is the fact that they have blown their blown it up so many times before. It's actively detrimental to keep doing that.
All right, Netflix, and we're going to spend a couple more minutes, and then we're going to get into Batman Day. Netflix has a problem. There are only so many subscriptions they can acquire, which puts a ceiling on growth. They have to expand theatrically. No, because the overhead that you accumulate with that expansion is not worth it. It's not worth it sometimes. Because there's so many, like I've always said, there's so many people at the table that got to eat before you get your money back to your investors. I don't think that's necessarily true. Two, growth-based stagnate. But what have I always said? And people just throw shit at me when I say this. What's almost important in some cases, maybe even more important than growth? Retention, the stability of your revenue. That's what investors want. Investors don't want unpredictability. Yeah, we all love growth. Every investor wants to make more money. But you know what they don't? What they will do? They will pull out their money if shit gets shaky. Right now, Netflix has their stability there. I think you'll upset their Apple cart. Yeah, it's a good thought in theory. Yeah, because it would add more. You would add more subscribers technically, but maybe you don't. And at the cost of what? The cost of the purchase itself and the cost of the growing pains and consolidation and redundancy you'd have to get rid of. Is it worth it? I mean, I don't know. Yeah, once again, you could raise prices. You cut if you're destroying linear TV to the point where the risk of they'll just leave Netflix if it gets too thin. Where the fuck you gonna go? Pretty soon, most of this shit ain't gonna be on TV. I'm waiting for the riots to happen when they put the Super Bowl on streaming. They're gonna burn these cities down. Look where WrestleMania is always on pay-per-view, but look at now. Now you can only get it on one streamer. You have Raw. Raw used to be one of the most solid television shows, wrestling or otherwise, on TV. Guess what? Got to have Netflix to have that. So it's getting to the point where they may feel validated and saying, you know what? We're giving you all this stuff. We're going to raise your prices. Oh, I'm going to not do Netflix anymore. Or are you going to watch Raw? Or are you going to watch all this shit? There's a lot of shit people are tethered to that they don't want to admit to. There's a lot of these shows on these streamers that you wouldn't believe people are watching. They're watching them, and they can't go without them. I got all the streamers, so I can feel that pain. Yeah, but once again, guys, growth is great. But when everybody's losing market share, if you're just maintaining yours, and I'm a stockholder, I'm not thrilled that you ain't growing, but I'm thrilled that you ain't shrinking either. When I'm looking at everybody else that's have to make these sales, Warner Brothers shrunk from $74 billion to $43 billion. Do you want that? But if you can stabilize at what Netflix is doing, I'm fine. Grow where you can, of course, but don't lose anybody. Yeah, they did. And you don't need to hear this from me. When I'm pretty sure Killen's going to file a lawsuit somewhere, and he's going to end up naming them as the co-defendants. Because of the threat, the guy put out a threat. He literally is on TV. And it's something, do you guys know that when you're on TV, the info stays there? It's called evidence now, but okay. All right. Yeah, but you know what? Me and you don't have to agree that they're good movies. All they're there for consumption, and people are consuming them. There's a lot of garbage. Yeah, sure, but there's a lot of good things too. You think I'm not going to be in front of the TV for Stranger Things season 5 when it comes out? Yeah. I just want to get through enough of heartburn. I haven't even eaten yet. Do you think the DCU would accept Elseworld ideas with big characters? It's big directors who want. It depends on A, who the character is, and B, who the director is. Because that will become a corporate studio level decision, not a DCU decision. If somebody like a Nolan or a Spielberg comes to you, yeah, you can have James Gunn at the table, but you're adding value to not just DC Studios now. You're talking about the value of the franchise and the entire company, and that's beyond a certain person in any particular position's pay grade. You'd have to sit down and talk to the investors about that. You'd have to sit down and talk to the shareholders and the board about whether you would turn down a Christopher Nolan type story and all that. So. Let's see. How you doing, Isaiah? 92. Yep, hit the like, hit the subscribe, do it all. Woohoo. Yeah, Fourth is watching Superman 25 today. Nah, not mind control dark side, but just the dark side. That's just basically, going into the multiverse.
Mind controlling dark side.
It doesn't. Oh yeah. I don't know if Fourth is going to give it the best review. Yeah, in live sports, no matter what it is, whether it's pro wrestling, football, basketball, hockey, they all want live. Live sports is still a draw. That's one of the biggest draws network TV has. Those games, those college football games, most of your college football games are available on TV. Most of the big ones are named. So, but when you get them on a streamer, live sports like Netflix knew what they were doing. They dropped $500 million. They dropped $5 billion for Raw. They knew what that was going to do for their company. The Mysterious Shadow. I'm just hoping next month's announcement from Miramax on Halloween franchise has got to do with a fresh new review. You know how I feel about this. I wish the announcement they were making is that we're going to put it to rest for another 10 to 15 years. I want who else I want to be there with them? I want somebody standing next to them that runs the Friday the 13th franchise, and I want somebody who runs the Nightmare on Elm Street. I want them all having a joint conference. And we're gonna stop for about 10 years or so. We're gonna stop for another 10 years. We're gonna just let it dwell for 10 years, and we're gonna use that 10 years to think of something. If we can make this new again, if we're just going through the motions and just replacing the names and faces that people are not going to connect to, then just don't do it for a while. That's just my opinion. Oops. I think a lot of subscribers are conditioned to keep streaming services that are annual 3 months ago. Yeah, I do too. Like I said, I'm one of them. I think when push comes to shove, I think people are generally going to, because it's a comfortable thing about it's part of their life now, and they don't want to give that up. Which Batman has been the worst? Okay, I can say my least favorite. And this changed as I grew up into a man, would be Adam West. And no disrespect to Adam West, may he rest in peace. Kid me was okay with Adam West. Grown up me just couldn't reconcile myself with that being part of my Batman catalog.
I mean, I think probably most people would say Clooney. Most people probably say Clooney.
Oh, on that level? Maybe. I thought you talked about it in general. Christopher Nolan walks into the office wanting a trilogy. You bet he's going to get one. Studios would be thrilled to have him. Yeah, and the corporate entity that's above James Gunn, that's not going to fall down to him. He will be consulted. But if you have somebody that can add that kind of revenue, or anybody like that can add revenue to Warner Brothers as a whole, not just DC Studios, because remember, all the money goes up. It's like the mob. You're going to have a CFO, a CEO, president of the board, stockholders. There's going to be meetings way above that pay grade for that to happen. Now, once it happens and they make the decisions, then they might hand it over to the point where James Gunn is the executive producer. But as far as that goes, I don't think you're going to need to executive produce a Nolan or a Spielberg. Wow, that's going to be a tough one, guys. All right, let's hit to the topic. So, So let me see if I can bring this up. I was actually prepared today, and I didn't have the internet jamming me up today. I had shit internet for Wicked today. All right, Batman. There you go. 85 years worth merely of Batman as far as the comics goes. We're going to start with the comics. So this is not my. Let me give credit to because I didn't get enough time to. There's a Facebook group that I took that picture from. I do not want to claim that as my own, but it suited my needs. So the history of Batman. The history of Batman is the page I jacked that from. All right. So starting from the upper left, 1939, the one that you see here, Detective Comics number 27, The Batman, first appearance, May 1939. Next to that was the 1940s. You can see the costume changes a little bit there. His original costume was black and gray. Those are the only two colors. The blue was still black, but it was, in the day, is that how you got your shading and your difference of overlaps. The third one, 1950s. I don't know why that's a pink one. I'll have to look up the history. 1960s is the one immediately to the right of that. Now we have, this is the first era where the Batman had the yellow emblem behind the bat. And then the 1970s. And then you had, that's the Neil Adams version. 1980s, as you can see right there. We go back. If you look at the upper left-hand one and the one of the 1980s, that's Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli going back to the Bob Kane, Bill Finger standard of the black and gray. 1990s, it would be all black for a while. Early 2000s, still, once again, now you're going back to all black with no, for the most part, and this would be this way for now, forever now, was we go back to the black bat with no yellow background. New 52 era, it's basically the same. And then New 52 again, same. And then Rebirth, which is, I think, one of the ugliest costumes he's had in a while, that yellow outlining. And then now you have All In, which is where we're at, and that is from the cover of Batman 159, which is Hush Part 2. When it comes to the definitive storylines, now I say this not only as a reader, I'm going to say this as a retailer. Now I could go get the comic books, but if I'm bringing you in brand new, I'm assuming that that's going to bankrupt you right now. Maybe it won't if we have that option. Got the comic books, so get the trade paperbacks. Now, obviously, you've seen me waving this around for the entirety of the show. If you've been paying attention to the show for any length of time, you know what I consider to be the gold standard of Batman storytelling. That's The Dark Knight Returns. It restored Batman to what, in my opinion, the founders meant him to be. The attitude, his outlook on Gotham, his outlook on the world. And keep in mind, this was the 80s, the height of the Cold War. Even Reagan is in this book. Superman is talking to Reagan here, so that shows you how dated it is. The artwork here, the grittiness, the violence, the bludgeoning, the extremes that this book, there's nuclear weapons in this book. I mean, this to me is what let Hollywood know 3 years earlier that they could make this type of storyline. It didn't have to be fluff. It didn't have to be Adam West. It didn't have to be, something that, you had to neuter in order to and then call it Batman. You could make a story that by that term, by that age in 1989, was still risky. What you saw in Michael Keaton's Batman, even though it doesn't age well, some near 33, 34 years ago, at the time, that type of movie was in line what was on the shelf with Batman and the content that Batman was being produced. Batman Killing Joke was another one. I don't have it on me. Killing Joke is another one that got released by Alan Moore and Brian Bolland in 1988. Batman came out, and it let people know, because at the time, if those of you who weren't alive then, there were people legitimately asking, well, why can't we just have Adam West play Batman? And I'm like, no, and everybody's like, no. But that's the major pop culture influence that Batman was then. Now we look at it differently. But back then, we hadn't had a Batman theatrical movie since Batman the Pilot in 1966, if you can even count that. Because that was more of a launcher to a TV show. But as far as high budget, big budget films, we had never had a feature length, big budget Batman film like that was capable of making $200 million, which at that standards was like $1 billion. When you look at that, because movies weren't making that kind of money, that weren't Star Wars and Return of the Jedi and all that. So this gave him permission to actually do Batman in that manner. It changed the game, and he did the same thing for Batman, in my opinion, that he did for Daredevil. He made it okay to make Gotham. Hell's Kitchen is a character in Daredevil. Gotham City is a character in The Dark Knight Returns. That from the structures all the way down to the politicians, the corrupt politicians.
Yes, it was Peter Weller.
Okay. And that led to that. This one right here, I like the story, Long Halloween. This probably later years ends up being some of the most influential stuff that a lot of people who are doing contemporary Batman seem to go back to. Some people base parts of their character on there. I remember hearing, I think Heath Ledger saying part of his Joker came from here. Long Halloween's a pretty lengthy story. It's one of the things that if somebody were to come in, I can hand them this, and if they have a basic understanding of Batman and all they've seen is the movies, they're going to connect with the Long Halloween. And this is the complete, the entirety of the entire storyline. Here's another one. A lot of people will put this ahead. Hush. Hush is another storyline that, contemporary people will use as far as the basis of the writing goes. We have a Hush 2 now that's currently out, and I got the giant ones of those, but this is the one you'd want to start with. It was the one thing about Hush that I did like about this is it was a mystery. You had to figure out things as they went on, and a lot of Batman, even though he's called detective, not every story is a detective story. This was a detective story. This is one of the ones too. If you have a basic understanding of Batman's rogues galleries, you can pick up on this. And last but not least, Absolute Batman. Probably one of the most important books to come along in about 10 years or so. It is really, really boosting DC right now, and it's helping DC's mainline titles. So we just had a Batman come out. This is part of the All In initiative. This is the new Batman that just came out a couple weeks ago. Has a whole bunch of covers to it. This is part of the All In initiative. The All In initiative is connected to Absolute Batman. It's all Scott Steiner driven. So those are my important stories. And I'll tell you what a Batman, like I said, as a kid growing up in the 80s, growing up in the Cold War, growing up, when you didn't have a lot of the other stuff to really lean on, I leaned on comic books. That's how I became a collector. And at 12 years old, I really started to hit my stride. With not just reading comic books and collecting comic books and having my own allowance money, things like that, but being able to comprehend a deeper storyline than what I had been fed when it came to Batman. That's why Batman Dark Knight Returns means a lot to me. That's why Batman's Years 1 and Year 2 mean a lot to me. They reconnected the character to what the character, in my opinion, was meant to be. Now, when it goes on to the movies, like I said, my favorite actor to play Batman is going to be Ben Affleck because he plays a Batman that literally is coming from the pages of this. I mean, look, feel, and if you watch Zack Snyder's Justice League, you'll see the Batmobile in there that he uses, and the suit is in there. So, but my favorite overall Batman movie is going to be The Batman. Even if Robert Patrick is not Robert Patrick, I'm sorry, I'm thinking Peacemaker. Robert Pattinson isn't my favorite individual actor. That's my favorite overall movie because it does the same thing that the best Batman comic books do, and that is make everything a part of the scenery. It's not just Batman; it's the environment. In order for me to buy into a Batman story, you have to make me care about everything in there. The commissioner, the corrupt police, the corrupt politician, the villain, Batman himself, even Alfred. I need the story to be revolving around Batman, but all those things matter. And you saw it in the Batman, where the the atmosphere was as much a part of the movie as Robert Pattinson was. So that's where I am now. Where are you guys at with Batman? Brad disappeared when I was going to throw that question back to him, but all right. Yeah, the comics were going through some things, and yeah, and that's what it was. Because remember, the era that Detective Comics in the 1940s was, we were dealing with open warfare in the streets. We were dealing with World War. We were dealing with all kinds of things that people, you could make something like the comic books and make stuff real serious, and it wouldn't be, by comparison, real life was much worse. If you say so. Rebirth is a shit suit, as if Batman and Blue Emblem is something. I'm not a big fan of the new suit, by the way. I am not a big fan of that blue. Yeah, it's what allows me to get people in real quick and with less risk. I appreciate Keaton's Batman for what it is. I think it hasn't aged well, but it's still there. I'm 34, Keaton Batman, all right. I will. You cannot overhype The Dark Knight Returns, and you can't overhype The Last Ronin either. Yes, I have. I did read it. Yeah. Oops. Oh, I did not see it. Sorry, I didn't see it. Thoughts on Sean Astin becoming a SAG and Nolan becoming DGA president? That's fine. They're both qualified. I mean, Fran Drescher, you can. Yeah, it was time for her to go. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Yeah. Let's see. Christian Bale is my favorite, but George Clooney was the worst. Wasn't it funny? It wasn't a very good movie either. It's not like George Clooney is not a type-light actor. It just wasn't a very good movie. All right. I'm throwing the Batman experience to you now. Brad,
What's up?
um, Batman. What has Batman meant to you throughout your childhood and adulthood? And what are your stories that you lean on?
Yeah, there's a little lag there. I mean, what can you say? Is, Batman is one of the, not even like one of the first superheroes, one of the first like fictional characters, like most kids, myself included, were introduced to. So it's like, yeah, he was. I got introduced to Batman and Superman about the same time. Um, Pretty much got introduced through a combo of Adam West and Michael Keaton. And I don't know if I told the story on the show before, but I used to, whenever my mom would say like Batman's on, the way I distinguished them was I would ask the black Batman or the blue Batman. So already I was kind of like at that age, like making like kind of like Elseworlds, multiverse or like different continuity, kind of distinctions without realizing it. So from there, I got very much into the animated series and into the into the comics. And he's yeah, I mean, Batman's like it's not like it's not a question of when you ask me like what does what does Batman mean to you, because he's one of those characters where it's like he's always he's such a staple of, again, not just superheroes but fiction, where it's like everybody has their intro to Batman at a very young age, and I was different. He's definitely got me one of the pillars that got me starting within both superheroes and with DC specifically. As far as Batman stories, really dug. I mean, Dark Knight Returns obviously is like that's one where, like you said, it's like once you kind of see that, you see it's hard to kind of like backtrack to Batman and it being kind of like tonally sort of taking the gloves off or defanged, for lack of better terms. So Dark Knight Returns definitely one of the all-time greats for him. William's not a fan of Nightfall. I am.
And you know what makes me even less of a fan of it now? Not that could possibly happen. Is Absolute Batman. The way Bane is being currently handled.
That is the best current. That's the best Batman, probably comic book wise, probably of like last 10 years, if not longer. Is really like of all the everything they've done with DC is like absolutes. Like that has my attention, and what they've done with Batman there. I mean, giving him the axe, making him again power lifter Batman. If you read Absolute Batman, the joke I'm telling everybody is like it's like the mandate, from a writer standpoint, from an artist standpoint, with every character, everything in Batman was just make everything bigger, basically. Because Batman, again, he's a power lifter. Bane's the size of Doomsday. The Batmobile is, again, like a wrecking crane. So yeah, Absolute Batman is like that. It's really with it being Batman Day, it's like Absolute Batman. That's actually probably comics wise, probably a good thing to really zero in on, because that's such a great example of like taking what's established with Batman, with his backstory, and and tweaking and altering elements of it too. I mean, it's like he's a new character, but he's also he's true to his essence, but he's also new in so many different ways in Absolute Batman. I mean, the suit, the build, the axe, everything. Absolute Batman is just, it's such a great distillation of everything that's great about Batman as a character, but it's also building, expanding on him in ways that just that just really complement his history in such an awesome way. I mean, the intro, and I don't know if I mentioned this on air. Ashley, we had on a couple weeks ago. My friend Ashley, she's a big Batman fan, but she hadn't really kind of started on the absolute DC stuff. So I kind of gave her sort of the cliff notes of it, and I used Absolute Batman as the entry point because she's a big Batman fan. And I specifically used the point where he's fighting the gang in the first issue, and the one guy gets his arm chopped off, and he says, "Oh, the hospital, maybe it's that way, maybe it's that way, but you're probably gonna want to run." So I told her that. She's like, "Okay, I'm taking the plunge tomorrow." And she did. She was starting just as they're getting the collected editions of the first stories of each character. So, and that's really set her on the absolute DC kick. And Absolute Batman was such a great Kickstarter for that, because I mean, obviously you start with the Trinity, your most iconic characters. Which one you gonna start with out of those three? You start with the cash cow, it's Batman. And yeah, of any recent comp version of Batman, Absolute Batman is the one that really I think I found the most captivating. So so that's a really good kind of you talk about favorite Batman comic book stories. Absolute Batman, it's like, even though we're still maybe not in the infancy, but we're still maybe like in the childhood.
It's a toddler.
Yeah, it's still, I think it qualifies as like one of the most iconic comic book versions of Batman. And again, it will absolutely be adapted elsewhere, as will all of Absolute DC. We'll see what that entails in next coming years pretty soon. But yeah, for like iconic. I mean, I was really also into everything Earth One. As I point out to William many times in the show, and Batman Earth One, is another great real kind of deconstruction and distillation of Batman. I really anything with DC, I really kind of gravitate, or I find the stories that stay with me the most are the Elseworlds ones. Are like not like the ones outside the mainline continuity. Those are the ones that you really can. I would almost liken it to like the Simpsons, the Treehouse 4 episodes, where like you're allowed to color outside the box a lot more with the characters. And so, yeah, the ones, not to say there aren't great mainline, continuity stories, but anything else Worlds really kind of offers you like a different kind of canvas to work with. And it seems so many writers take great advantage of that. So yeah, Dark Knight Returns, Batman Earth One, Absolute Batman, Nightfall, as I said, and trying to think of any other great ones that really stood out to me. This is sort of cheating, you might say, but I was really, when I was a kid, I was like 10 years old. Grant Morrison's run on JLA. I really dug that.
We had a run on Batman too.
Yeah. Well, so like, what he did with like all the characters, that really and that was also during Superman's Lightning era. So, but yeah, what he did with the characters collectively and individually on his JLA run, I found really phenomenal. It had a kind of like a semi toy tie-in with the Absolute Justice action figures, which I was all over those. I collected those. I mean, I was. That's another kind of like we talk about like my entry point to superheroes, or so many different things. It's like I was a big collector of action figures when I was a little kid, and Batman, he's one of the ones where it's like he's had. I mean, if you talk about fictional characters who had like a ton of action figures, I mean, he's got to be in the top 5. So,
Aaron, yes,
Batman action figures.
Yes, I was gonna put that in the thumbnail, but I ran out of room.
Oh, and funny you should mention this, Antonio, because he had the Green Hornet crossover with the Adam West show. That was a really interesting thing. So, which means I've actually mentioned this in a couple articles I've written. Is it means that Bruce Lee is canonically part of the DC multiverse. I mean, how awesome is that, guys? So, but yeah, they did the cross. I did. So you probably find it on YouTube. He has big fight scene with Robin. So that was pretty cool. Anything? I'll try to think anything else as far as like Batman. Those probably I would say like are my favorite Batman comic book stories. Also Year One. I think I'm definitely
You brought up Year One.
And like we talk about like media, like external of comics. I mean, what favorite portrayals of Batman? I mean, like I said, Keaton, was definitely my intro to Batman as a kid. Been very vocal on here. I've been a big fan of Ben Affleck's portrayal. I like Bale a lot more than William does, obviously. So yeah, I think probably movie wise, those are the ones that really resonate with me the most.
All right, I'm dropping the link in the chat. What you guys are going to do is like we did a while back. I'm going to bring in, if you want, if nobody clicked links and we're done for the night, you get 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes to tell me what your favorite stories are, what Batman means to you. And at 5 minutes, no matter where you are, we're going to move on to the next person. And there's the next person to move on to. So we'll do that for a little bit. And that's how we will wrap up this show. So there we go. And tonight's show was brought to you.
Rational skepticism. I did the Bruce Lee comment. You didn't bring out the siren. Well, you know why he didn't bring out the siren? Because there's no refute. There's no way. There's a counter argument. It's like Bruce Lee is canonically part of DC's multiverse.
I don't care enough to even reach for the siren. So. All right, tonight's show is brought to you by Trauma Now. First month is free. After that, it's $4.99. We showed you guys about a month or so ago when Taki came out. There's a lot of value. Support independent filmmaking. TraumaNow.com. All right. First person that's going to be in is the Dark Knight Duck. How are you doing, Clint?
I'm doing well. The one thing that about Batman, that the comics, the animated series, just about every movie, is the drivenness of him to do what he's doing. That's what makes Batman to me. It's like, he's doing it out of the pain of his childhood, and that was and it's such an overwhelming drive to, like when he goes after the Joker, he's going after the Joker as hard as he can, no matter what format it is, except for maybe Adam West. That was a 60s thing, but that's what I think Batman is. That's why I like the animated series. I think you focus you don't focus on the parts. I focus on that it's still Batman, once he was after you, man, come hell or high water, he was going to get you because of the drivenness of him.
The commitment is there. It's just when I look at the cartoons, the commitment isn't as stark where it connects with me. Um, when I see Gotham and I see the people around Gotham portrayed properly, which I consider to be properly, then I connect more with his loss. I could make the violence, the viciousness of his loss, and I don't see that in other versions, in animated versions. Now, other people coming from a different point of view may see that, but I just don't see um, the true mental drive that is in the Batman that I recognize, um, as there would be in a cartoon, because
it's
I just
pretty
don't
much
think you can reach that edge.
it's pretty much in every iteration of the good Batman. Like, I mean, even the Batman when he's driving that car to get the Penguin, that
Yeah,
kind
that's to me. Yeah, that's one of the versions of it that I do think connects properly with that kind of lore. I'm on board with that.
One of my favorite smash cuts I've ever seen in a movie is when the chase starts and it's right after Catwoman. She picks up like that bag full of money and speeds off, and then it cuts right to the Batmobile speeding through the rain, and the score really kicks in. You hear that bum bum bum. Boom. I love that shot. That's
Mine's the time before that when it revs up
yeah. That's like
when he starts up the Batmobile, and I'm like, this is some shit out of Christine.
Well, anyways, that's my plan. I'll leave so the next person can have a turn.
All right, thanks, Clint.
Later.
All right. Next up is fuck. What's going on, Forth?
Hey, what's going on?
You
Happy
really got
Batman
5
Day.
minutes. 4 minutes and 55. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Jeez. Nah, I had always been a casual fan of Batman. I watched all the animated series just because any kind of cartoon that was entertaining and competent you could put in front of me was going to get its due diligence. The movies that kind of come and gone for me, I was never a fan of Keaton. Didn't care about Clooney, Kilmer, or any of those. They just didn't do it for me. Why? Because Batman never looked cool live action until Batfleck. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Christian Bale. I think his movies are really good, and I think he set up a lot of great aspects of the character that I never considered. Like, how would it be in real life? And there were some great considerations for that. But yeah, Batfleck hands down is my Batman, just because I always felt that if your mission is predicated on having your parents die in front of you and you've carried that, then you have to operate at some sort of psychological frequency that's not the same as everybody else. And I felt that I got that out of the Bruce Wayne character in that movie, that the disturbance was always there, in his private moments. And so that's why for me in that movie, a lot of the best scenes weren't really when he was Batman. Those are great scenes. But I like my favorite scene is the 1% chance he's our enemy speech with Alfred, that kind of signals like the desperation and need to have some sort of achievement, in his life after fighting 20 years of crime. Which the other great thing is that now that I'm 40 years old, like I don't really look forward to a lot of the characters that are, young and not optimistic, but young and like I'm searching for word, but I have like a vision for the future or building a legacy. The reason why I like Ben Affleck's Batman because it shows me something about age and a legacy behind you and how to deal with the years as they kind of close to an end when you can't do these adventures anymore. And I like characters like that. So
That's the exact thing that attacks me to the Dark Knight Returns. As being
that's why it's my favorite animation one. I haven't read the book yet. I have to get it back from my daughter. She's got it locked up somewhere. But yeah, I like characters who kind of show me how to age now that I'm getting into that, midlife range.
Another reason why I like Kingdom Come. If you haven't read Kingdom Come,
I forgot to mention Kingdom Come. Yeah, that's definitely up there for Batman stories. It's a collective story.
It's the best Superman story written, in my opinion. Is Kingdom Come, because Kingdom Come, just like Zack Snyder's Justice League and all the entire arc, to me is a Superman story. But Kingdom Come definitely it's got good Batman stuff in it. But it's the same reasons I love that story for Superman are the reasons I love Dark Knight Returns for Batman. Anything else?
And it's not like I could only get into those stories. Oh, I won't eat up any more time. But it's not like I could only get into those stories. But that was just like a new avenue that I haven't considered at the appropriate time when I started, getting into my 40s. So like I like young and idealistic stuff. That's the word I was looking for. Like Stargirl's a great show and stuff like that. But yeah. That's my Batman stuff.
All right, cool. Thanks for coming on.
And Aaron, yes, I fully support this.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Drago.
Hello, Axel. How you
Hello.
doing?
Yeah, I'm
Second
doing
Aussie I've
good.
had on my screen today.
So and happy Batman Day. Yeah, Batman Day is, I don't know, it's a special day. When talking about Batman, it makes me realize what he really is. I made a post like a few minutes ago saying that he's many things. He's serious, he's kind, a detective, but he also knows when to have a good time, when to have a laugh, but that's what I like about Batman is that
Now,
he's
Drogo, when you made this post, you did not put my face on it, I hope.
no. Oh shit, I should have. Oh wait, but no, I didn't. But yeah, he's a flawed character, but that's what's so good about him. That he's now my experience with him is like my first experience was the Lego games. Now, of course, that's not really, you know, it goes.
You wouldn't believe how many people burst. That's why I put the Lego Batman. If you look at the thumbnail without us on it, there's Lego Batman is there because I got a lot of feedback from people whose first experience with him was from Lego movies or games. It
Yeah,
shocked me too, but hey,
the games is what got me into that in the first place, and so I've been wanting to read a lot of 90s Batman comics because I just feel like that's a good era of, I don't know, seriousness and just, I don't know exactly. There's a lot to Batman that I feel like hasn't been explored in movies yet, or even in shows. Oh, I mean, in shows, depends. It just depends. But mostly in movies, like there could be so much more. Like the duality of Batman and Bruce Wayne. Uh, yeah, that's all.
yeah, me personally, I mean, I probably should have posed this question as part of the thing is what is an element that you have never seen in a Batman portrayal that you think or you think needs to be either hasn't been there or needs to be augmented? For me, it would be the detective aspect of it in a TV show. I've always said I want to see a Batman procedural show like the First 48 or things like that, except it's with Batman using us viewing his investigation through the same way we would be watching the First 48 or CSI, things like that. Him breaking down things like you would, arrest law, helping the police, talking to the police, his conversations with just the same thing you would like a cross between like a Law and Order but an actual ride along situation for, like you see in the First 48 or Cops or something like that.
I had one like this for the longest time, and to an extent, I still do. This is actually when I was a kid, like after Batman and Robin came out. We were all kind of like had that like 8-year period of like, where would you want to see the next Batman, movie going? I'd always wanted to see his training. I'd always wanted to see him build himself into, because what started with Keaton and on same thing with the West, and even like on the animated series, like you sort of see him, he's already established. You see him with the suit, with the tech, with the fighting skill, with the with everything at his disposal. And I had always wanted to see like basically I wanted to see year one, I guess is kind of what I'm kind of getting at there, but specifically I wanted to see it zero in on just the training aspect, learning his fighting skill, learning how he cultivates the image that he develops as Batman, and that all that, as we all know, unfolds over a period of several years. So I really always wanted to see, a Batman's, you take the aspect of the comics and bring it either to movies or TV, of really kind of dialing in on his training and what he puts himself through to become Batman. And we did get that to a significant extent in Batman Begins. We got a lot of the training. We got the League of the League of Shadows, as it's called in the movie.
And I do wish we could see him train more over the world, not just in.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a good short in that one animated. It's like It's like an animatrix version of Batman.
Oh, I know
like
what you're talking about, where he goes to India.
Yeah, there's this one where he goes to, I think, India, and like he like focuses on training his like trying not to feel pain.
Yeah, he gets like cracked over the head with like 2x4, and he learns to center himself in a way where it's like he could take pain and just keep going. Which that's another like we're talking about like elements of the Batman persona that really resonate with you. Again, his endurance also has always been one that really the resilience, the endurance. It kind of goes to what Ford's saying about his commitment. That's kind of an offshoot of that. Is the drive? Is how much he is physically and psychologically capable of absorbing, as part of his mission, and that goes into just that what his endurance and what his resilience is, because of the way he his origin story where he came about. But that's always something I really, again, we got a lot of that in Begins, but I'd still would love to see something. And this might like really work well episodically, like see something that really committed the story to focusing on his training in all the aspects, in the martial arts, in the the detective skills, in design the weaponry and design the suit, and just crafting the whole persona, and like something like that would unfold over like the course of 10-15 years. I always really wanted to see like the training.
And that could be part of the procedural thing, like when we're explaining a weapon, like when you watch American Choppers. Or when you watch like Adam Savage build something on Mythbusters, he breaks it down for you to the point where it's entertaining, like the Batarang or things like that. And then like what you're saying, like some of the like the thing he can do that Daredevil can also do, where he could be in a room with you in full fucking costume and nobody sees or notices him. That's some ninja shit that he's been trained to do. I want to see something like that. I think that would be like Batman under the hood would be kind of what I would call it. But
And what I would want to see and be adapted is Batman Ego by Darwin Cook.
That would be nice to see.
Yeah, I think maybe Batman Forever is the closest thing. I don't know which came. Oh wait, no, Batman Forever came first. But yeah, I just feel like I don't know. I do want to see more adventures of Batman when Jason Todd was still Robin, because I feel like he's just more known when he's Red Hood, and I feel like Red Hood's just gotten a bit.
Well, because he was a very unpopular character.
Yeah, you mean the Robin that William helped kill?
Yeah,
probably helped killing him. Here's the thing, though. The reason why it was so easy for Marv Wolfman, or I don't know, it was Starlin. Starlin did that shit because everyone hated every Batman. You read the letters to everyone unanimously hated Jason Todd. A lot of it because he was a punk. He was portrayed as a punk, which was his character. But the biggest thing that Jason Todd had going against him that he wasn't Dick Grayson. Even though Dick Grayson hadn't been Robin for a minute. He hadn't been Robin for like 4 years. But Dick Grayson was always even as Nightwing. That's why they changed him to Nightwing as when he was an adult, to break that separation. But people always looked at Jason Todd as a shitty replacement people let go of that because by the time Tim Drake came around, people were ready to accept Tim Drake. This person, Hosea 92. One of the things I love about Batman is that Bruce Wayne is the false persona. Yes, the mask is Bruce Wayne is the mask. He is the Batman is the real person. And that's when I think, this is my personal opinion, when Batman is being portrayed perfectly is when that psychosis is laid bare. When he is struggling to maintain his humanity because he is the Bat. Bruce Wayne is something he struggles to uphold just for outwardly appearances. Batman is the only relevant persona. Bruce Wayne is a phony. Bruce Wayne doesn't exist. When the Batman stories, in my opinion, are being written at their best, that is the case. That's for me, though. I know I'm not on the same page as everybody else does. So. All right, Droga. Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh, good. See ya.
See you later. All right, I think we got everything out of our system. Yeah, they were banging each other in the Three Jokers.
By the way, speaking of that, Aaron had a really, really un-Aaron-like comment a little bit ago that I'm not going to bring up, but
where is it? Don't bring it up. Where is it?
It's right. Well, it relates to Kingdom Come. Yes, sis. Like you got a dark side in your mind. There's something here, sis.
I'm gonna put a scroll. Brad's sister is not on, unless the sister actually comes on this show. But isn't fair that hold on, what is he saying? Force said it was unfair. What? Axel got what? Hold on. This isn't fair, Axel. This is Richard Batman. Hey, aren't you a rich kid, Axel? All right, guys, that is the show. That is the Saturday Overnight Live. We covered everything and more. Had some guests on. Discussed all of our. I forgot the goat last month when we were supposed to talk. I had the goat on the fucking thumbnail and still forgot to talk about him. The goat with the eye. I helped create Red Hood. I hope that William. What about Duke Thomas and? Now, I don't think there's any good Robins. I mean, Tim Drake was serviceable for me. Damian is definitely, but that's for reasons other than being Robin. The fact that he's Bruce Wayne's son. If he was just some other punk kid, I'd want him dead too. So, all right, like, subscribe, share, spread the gospel.
And happy Batman Day to one and all.
What's that?
Happy Batman Day to one and all.
Oh yeah, happy Batman Day, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you locals. Hope you guys who got your posters today had some good fun. We'll probably be on the air sooner than 10:30 tomorrow because I'm available sooner than 10:30 tomorrow. So we'll keep you posted.
And last minute too, he's with us in the comments.
Oh, there you go. At least he didn't change his name.
Yeah.
Usually we have like imposters come in, and then it's Walter Amata or it's Soronoff was in there, some crazy shit. All right, guys, like, subscribe, share it. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you guys.